What's up, guys? I am not going to waste too much of your time because this is an interview episode. It's a long interview episode. Mr. Phil Barantini, writer, director of the awesome movie Villain that I have reviewed and I've spoken about many, many times. Craig Fairbrass at his absolute best, working on another level right now. Truly another level. He's got some good stuff coming up, by the way. Keep an eye out for that. Anyway, my name is Kevin Halden. This is Nerdly Out Loud, the official channel of nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home for the news, reviews, and exclusive interviews. We like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget, with a special keen interest on the lower end of the scale. Yeah, so I have reviewed on this channel, or will be reviewing on this channel, a one-take movie called Boiling Point. Truly a wonderful, wonderful, brilliant movie. I genuinely think this film should be seen by everyone. It's a marvel of what they've done. It's fantastic what they've done. What they've accomplished, this cast and this crew and this director, what they've accomplished is just insane. But you will see that in my review. I got a little bit excited about it, so it's all good. Stephen Graham's in it, and I'm a big Stephen Graham fan. His wife, Hannah Walters, is in it, and she has one of the standout scenes in the movie, which is great. Vinette Robinson is just brilliant. Lauren Ajufo, you cannot beat Lauren Ajufo. She's so good in this movie. And you know what? I never talked about it in my review, and I don't think we talk about it in the interview, but Ray Panthaki, who you may remember from EastEnders theme a good little while back, yeah, he's pretty damn good in this movie and kind of holds his own against Mr. Graham. But yeah, please do all those wonderful things that us YouTubers ask you to do, and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell. The notification bell will let you know whenever I drop an episode. So please do all that, because I don't want to have to give you a phone call and let you know that there's a new episode out. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen because I'm pretty damn lazy. But do all that for me. That would be amazing. It helps the algorithm. It helps people find us, and it makes sure that we are growing, which is something that we seem to be doing. We're on the road to 1,000. It really would be cool to get there sooner rather than later. So just tell everyone about us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll straight into the interview with Phil Barantini, writer-director of Boiling Point, of Villain, a guy that I just absolutely adore. He was amazing in Dream Team. He's gonna love me referencing Dream Team. Please do check out this interview. I think it's a great interview and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, Phil Barantini, take it away. Mr. Phil Barantini, welcome back to Nerdly Out Loud. Welcome back to the show. It's been a little while since I spoke to you. It's been a minute. It was right back at the start of Lockdown 1. We've had a couple of sequels since then. You were dropping Villain. I got to talk to you about that. Love that movie. Couldn't wait to see what you had coming up next. So I guess first of all, how have you been during everything?
Oh, thanks for that intro, mate. Nice, very nice. I've been it's a weird one really, because like we all got, because we shot Boiling Point just before the pandemic, and then we were all just locked away in our houses, and it was like I've gone through this mental like process of doing this one take movie, and it was a mental process, and then all of a sudden we're all just sort of locked away, and it was just like, okay, I can either, it was amazing to be with my family and, my daughter and my wife and stuff like that, and spend the time, because I hadn't spent that much time with them, prior to that, because of the prep, and I was down in London and all that kind of stuff. And then it was just an amazing like moment to just stop and just go, okay, all right, let's just think about what we want to do going forward. And sort of writing stuff and coming up with ideas and just having a breather, really. It was just lovely. But I mean, that was all well and good for the time, and then it became really a bit annoying. But I was quite lucky, really, because I was able to do the post for Boiling Point remotely, because there's no edit in it, and so we went straight into the sound design and the grade and all that stuff, and so I was able to keep myself busy doing that then for a bit, and then it's been all right. But yeah, what a time.
So it was good to start off with, but then it was like, come on, let's just get on with life now. Let's get out of this. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we are coming onto the other side of it, and let's talk about Boiling Point, because you have just had your premiere for Boiling Point. It's a movie that we spoke about in our last chat. You made a short movie, 20-minute short movie, which I thought was pretty impressive. One take short movie, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you told me you were heading straight into a feature, or you were doing your feature. First question I have to ask, it's a one take movie. It's one of those things that I'd kind of lost my way with the whole one take, one shot thing. And then the likes of Haunting on Hill House, episode 6, they did that thing at the start. At the start of the year, I caught a movie called Last Call by Gavin Michael Booth, which is absolutely outstanding. But this one, Boiling Point, stands head and shoulders as just like this immersive experience. And I need to know why a restaurant, why a chef, why this story.
Well, I mean, why a restaurant and why a chef goes back to, you know, my days as an actor. And I you know, at the beginning of my career, I was doing really well, and I was, you know, successful, and I was getting jobs and stuff like that. And then I, you know, started to fizzle out a bit because of, you know, me and how I was sort of approached it. And, you know, I wasn't really bothered about, you know, I wasn't bothered about learning my lines and going to auditions and things like that. So I messed it up for myself, really. But during that time, I needed to make some money then, you know, and so a lot of my mates were working in restaurants and bars as waiters, waitresses, and, you know, bar staff, whatever. And I did a bit of that to begin with, and but I'd always been really interested in food and kitchens and all that kind of stuff, because well, yeah, exactly. You know, it's run in the family. I've got family who are chefs, so so I just sort of fell into that world and worked my way from the bottom all the way to the top, and became a head chef in a couple of places in London. And it was just a mad, like 12 years it was, of me just, you know, witnessing things and experiencing things. And also, you know, I had my issues with addiction and stuff like that. And, you know, I've been sober for 6 years now, which is
nice,
which I'm so grateful for. And, you know, yeah, so I sort of lived it, you know what I mean? And I'd always thought, wow, this world is really ripe for drama, you know. And I'd seen some movies and some TV things that are set in that world, and it just didn't quite hit the mark for me. You know, what I'd experienced personally, I wasn't, you know, I didn't believe it really. So I thought, oh, I'd love to make something in that world. And then, so that's why we did the short, just to see whether it was, you know, it was something that we could do. It was almost like a proof of concept, really. And the reason why we did it in one take was because we just thought, well, I just sort of thought I'd love to, you know, have the audience experience being in that environment for just a quick glimpse, basically, you know, in and out. And so putting the audience through that was something that we wanted to achieve. And we talked about, you know, quick edits and, you know, doing it in a conventional way, but making it quite erratic. And, you know, and I just thought that might make the audience feel a bit, you know, it might be a bit too much. So we decided on a one take thing, and we you know, we sort of researched it and that, and then we did the short and then decided to do the feature. But yeah, it was crazy.
How exactly do you prep for this? Because most one takes that I've seen, they all revolve around sort of like one set, and sometimes they'll go into another area and whatnot. It usually revolves about just one person, sometimes two. You've got like a whole restaurant of cast here. You've got the patrons, you've got the bar staff, you've got the maitre d', you've got the chefs, then you've got the guys in the back, and you're just moving around everybody, and you're not really, you know, you're spending time with them, but you keep moving, and I love that. How do you prep to accomplish it?
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of, like, when we decided we were going to do it in one take, the feature, the first thing we needed to do before we wrote the script was find the location, because we needed to know as we're writing it, we need to be able to write those moves in those different rooms and blah, blah, blah. So we found the location, which was an old friend of mine, who's one of my best mates, Andy Jones. He owns a restaurant in Dalston called Jones and Son. And I'd worked there as a chef prior. I'd helped him out in a few occasions, and he'd helped me out, sort of thing. And so we asked him if we could shoot there, and he said, yeah, no problem. So we needed to shut it down for a few weeks to be able to do that, to rehearse and stuff. And so when we wrote the script, it was a case of me and James Cummings sort of going through different anecdotes that I'd been through, and characters and people that I'd met, and and just putting them all together and thinking with the short, because it's only 20 minutes long, it's quite sort of easy to follow just one character, which was Stephen Graham's character. And it's engaging and stuff like that. But I thought for the feature, it'd be great to follow Stephen Graham for 90 minutes, but there's so much more that we can just play with here and just show the audience in that space of time. So we came up with these anecdotes and characters, and then we sort of wrote them and then sort of built them out, really, and sort of thought, we want to just spend a few seconds with that character, but just give them a small arc, and and just sort of delving into different people's lives and what people go through on a daily basis that you don't necessarily, me as a white male, I wouldn't experience what a black female waitress is going to go through. We'll have two different experiences with customers, and I wanted to show that with the customer, the sort of racist table, how they're really nice to the Robin character, the white waitress, and then they're totally different with the black waitress, and things like that. We just thought I just really want to sort of like a slice of life, and so it was just quite complex. We had so many ideas that didn't make it to the movie, and so we just had to think, well, and where's the journey, and but the sort of through line for this has got to be Stephen and his journey. So the idea was, in the short, we only ever follow Stephen. The camera never leaves Stephen. But in the feature, we said the camera never leaves a person. So it can't just go off and float off on its own and go and find something, find an event or find a person. It has to be constantly on the move with somebody. So that was one of the rules. And then, it was just a case of just sort of writing it and then getting the actors into workshop it and just building it in layers, really, until we got it. And it was a hell of a process.
I say it's the thing that sets Boiling Point apart from a lot of other like one shots that I've seen, because you kind of you do forget almost within about 10-15 minutes that it's even a one shot. It's just a fluid story that goes. But as I said to the wife this morning when I was talking to her about it, I was saying that it's not necessarily the story that is compelling you with Andy. It's the story around the stories. It's the little things. It's the played by his wife through the back, dealing with the young lad, which when you take a quick breath to deal with that scenario, it floored me. It absolutely floored me. And then it's like, right, keep moving. And then we go on to the next thing, and I'm just like, what? No. Like, can we go back to this for a minute? But of course, you wouldn't go back to that in a real life situation. It's just fantastic the way you've done it, and I absolutely loved that. On that quickly, obviously we can talk about Stephen Graham all the live long day, and I will in a minute. But you have got an outstanding cast here. Everybody is absolutely on point, just powerhouse performance, one after another. And I want to talk about, is it Vanette Robinson who plays Carly?
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Like, where I will hold my hands up and profess this is not an actress that I've seen readily in other things. Like, where did this last come from, and how did you find her for Carly?
Well, it was an interesting process, the casting, really, because when obviously Stephen came on board, as soon as I said we want to do a feature and we're going to do it in one take, he was super excited, and his wife Hannah, who's an amazing she's just an amazing human being. Like, they set up their production company, so they co-produced it with us, and it was what I said initially to Stephen was, anybody who works in the kitchen with you would have employed them. so you would have gone through that process with them in terms of like, sitting them down, having an interview or whatever it may be. You do like test cooks and all that kind of stuff. So I said, it's important because the relationships between all the chefs need to be quite solid, and they need to be like a family, because that's what it's like in that world. The whole restaurant needs to be like a family. So I said, we brought some people back from the short, like Alice Feetham, who's the manageress, and a few other people. But I said to Stephen, like especially the sous chef, she needs to be somebody that you've worked with or And he just worked with Vanette on A Christmas Carol, the BBC. I think it was a 2-parter or 3-parter that Nick Murphy directed, I believe, which was just amazing, and she was incredible in it. So I'd seen it, and he'd said, "Oh, what about Vanette?" And I was like, "Oh my God, she's amazing in that in A Christmas Carol." So it was a case of just Stephen phoning her up and saying, "Do you fancy doing this job?" And then she read the script, and I had a call with her and just to explain to her what the situation was. I think she watched the short as well, and she was just like, "This is petrifying, but like exciting." So we went for dinner, and then we talked about character and all that kind of stuff, and so it was quite an easy. That was an easy one, really. She was incredibly scared on the day, and everyone was petrified, because it is a scary thing for an actor, to be like, you don't want to be the one to mess up. But she, what's funny is she'd written that she's the opposite to Stephen. Basically, Stephen is someone who just wings it, and he doesn't wing it. I mean, that's the wrong word.
Yeah.
He's so prepared, but at the same time, he's so like, he just, any eventualities, doesn't care. Whatever happens. But with Vanette, she's from a different sort of way of working, and she likes to be prepared.
Yeah.
So she'd written this like a Bible of everything that needed to happen, and and she hid it in the fridge underneath the counter. So when the camera was off them, she'd have this Bible out, and she'd be flicking through it, going, right, what we doing next? And the camera come right, we're over there, you're over there, let's go. And so it was just, but obviously I didn't see any of that, because I'm behind a monitor, behind this false wall in the back of the restaurant, and I just was watching what the camera was seeing, so I didn't see any of that. So I only found that out actually recently when we were at one of the film festivals. It was like, oh right, that's what you're doing. But yeah, she's incredible.
She really is, from the moment you meet her, and there's like this kind of coiled spring of like tension that she's keeping a brave face in front of her, like, I'm in charge, I've got everything cool, calm, and collected. But when she does eventually snap, which is coming, it's just so bloody brilliant, man. And it's kind of one of those moments where I'm sitting there, and I found myself a little bit as well watching Stephen in that moment, kind of just watching her, which is so cool, because there's not many people that I know, not many actresses or actors even, that would go toe to toe in those kind of scenes. And I loved it. She is fantastic. But again, across the board, your entire cast, even the guys out in the in the restaurant, everyone out there is brilliant. You got Jason Fleming kicking it out there, and and I want to circle back to what you were just saying there about when the camera is off them in a one take shot kind of movie like this. What are they doing? Like, because the camera does move away. You go outside for a minute with the young dishwasher lad who's taking the bins out. You go outside. What is everyone inside the restaurant doing? Are they just carrying on as usual, as if they're cooking and eating and whatnot? Like, what do they do?
Well, I mean, it's like with some of them, for example, the guys behind the bar, I sort of gave them some jobs to do and told them, like, to just, clean glasses always looks good, pretend to make drinks, all that kind of stuff, just look busy all the time. But, when the camera is for example, when the camera's outside, or when it's in the other small room, or in the kitchen, we had some of the waiting staff and some of the customers were actually ADs on set. So they were like, nice. the runners and stuff like that. So they had the earpieces in. So they were basically, they'd know when the camera was coming back in. So they would be like, okay, guys, in positions or whatever. And everyone would be so I think when the camera was off them, they could sort of relax a little bit, or maybe figure out what was happening next, or that kind of thing, like I said with Vanette before. So yeah, it was interesting. But what is interesting is actually I didn't know quite how the film was going to go down, or whether it would be popular and stuff, and it seems to be people seem to be loving it, which I'm so grateful for and relieved. So what I decided to do was we decided to film like a behind the scenes footage from James and I writing the script right the way through to casting, all the way through rehearsals, the actors being taught how to cook from the chefs, all of that stuff, all the meetings we had, and we documented it all. And then even on set, we had one of the guys who was playing one of the customers, one of the supporting artists, customer guys. He had a camera with him, and every time the camera was off him or wasn't focused on that area, he'd have his camera out,
nice,
filming the behind the scenes. So we've got all this footage. So now we've sort of been commissioned to turn it into like a 30-minute documentary.
Nice.
So because I wasn't sure whether people were going to be interested in it or whatever, but everybody's really interested in how we made it. So I'm so glad that we got that footage, because for those people who don't believe that it is one take, they can see the process that we went through, and how we made it, and it's all there. It's all there documented. So.
Plus, you wouldn't put yourself through that if it wasn't one take.
No, and I'm not the best liar, so I wouldn't be able to lie about it. I really wouldn't. I feel so bad. I'd be like, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. But yeah.
In terms of, obviously, there's no edits, there's nothing like that. You're not doing setups. It's all one big setup. Mm-hmm. How many takes did you do, and which one is the one that we see?
So originally, when we set out to do this, like, there's a couple of things that I look back now and go, wow, imagine if we hadn't have done it that way. Because originally Stephen's window that he had was in April 2020. He was doing a movie before that, and a movie after that, or a TV thing after that. So that was the only window he had, and he only had a couple of weeks, I think, or whatever it was. So we were aiming for April, and then something happened with the film, and his window then moved to March, early March. So we were like, shit, we need to get it in sooner, because otherwise he's not going to be available. This was the only window we had, so we had to scramble to get everything together. And so we said, okay, we give ourselves 3 weeks to rehearse it. So I would rehearse it for first week would be me, a technical rehearsal for just me and Matt Lewis, the cinematographer. But we were doing rehearsals prior to that in the restaurant. We were in there pretty much every near enough every day, just going through it. And then we'd have the full camera rig that we designed, and we go through it together, just me and Matt. And then the second week of rehearsals, we brought part of the cast in, and I went through their little moments, like the guys at the tables, or the bar staff, or whatever, the waiters and waitresses. Those moments we sort of blocked out with them. And then on the last week, everybody came in. So Stephen and all the chefs came in. But the second week, they were all training and doing sort of chef training for that second week. So we brought them in. And then we just we did it. We gave ourselves 3 weeks rehearsal, and then we gave ourselves 4 nights to shoot it over. So every night we were going to do it twice. So we'd come in at 6 o'clock, I think it was, or 5 o'clock or whatever, and everyone would get ready. We had 37 radio mics that were all set up. We had 3 or 4 sound recordists, 5 boom operators. So they all had to be, everything was set up, and then we would then shoot it once in its entirety, and then we'd have a 3-hour break. Then I would give a note to everybody, and and we'd reset the whole restaurant. We'd have our dinner, and then we'd do it again. So in total, we'd planned to do it 8 times. And then after the first, prior to that, the weeks leading up to that, so the 3-week rehearsal, COVID was like this, you know, it was like this, just the whisperings and talks, and people were, you know, oh yeah, let's wash our hands. Yeah, make sure you wash your hands. And that was it really. And everyone,
it's never going to get here, is it?
No, it's never coming to us. Bear in mind, it was, you know, we were like over 150 people, I think, all in one room at the same time.
Yeah.
Cast, crew, all that. And then after the first night, you know, people were getting incredibly nervous. We had a few dropouts, like a few crew members pulled out because they were nervous, because they had elderly parents or grandparents that they were living with, and they didn't want to, you know, it was like, yeah, it was just a really, really weird, intense, like, yeah, it's just a weird, like one of the cast members that she pulled out because she was pregnant, and it was too early to, you know, to tell anybody.
Yeah.
But she had to tell us because it was like, she doesn't want to be in this environment with a newborn baby. So she had to recast her. And then, and so then after the first night of the shoot, we did it twice, and we did it in its entirety. There was no stops or anything. It was good. And, you know, I thought, okay, we've got another 6 goes at this. Great. We're going to get it. We're going to get the one. The producers came to me, and Stephen came to me and was like, tomorrow, we're going to have to shut it down after tomorrow because it's getting a bit too scary, you know, and I feel like we're probably going to get shut down by the government anyway, or whatever. I think we were one of the last, if not the last production on set. So then it came in the next day, and the first take on the second night, which was the third take overall, is the one that we used in the end. It was the third and fourth were, so the third take was that, well, what you've seen, you know, the performances were incredible, but there was a few technical things that I was worried about, and Matt Lewis, the cinematographer, was really worried about, and you know, like shadows and reflections in sort of windows and stuff like that, and which we managed to iron out in the fourth take. And the fourth take was technically perfect, but the performances were really flat because everyone was knackered.
Yeah.
So then after, like, we got shut down, and we all got locked in our houses and flats or whatever. It was like, I watched the two of them back to back, and I thought, and I spoke to Russ Bowley, one of the producers, and Hester Ruff. I was like, this is, we've got to go with the third take, because performance is everything. Like, you can't, you know, and then we managed to sort of iron out any of those problems in post. We were able to do, you know, in the grade, we could darken things down or whatever, or in, you know, VFX, we were able to get rid of some reflections, and it was a really easy fixes, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And you know, once we did that, it was like, okay, we're in business. So
I think as well, like you say, performance is everything. People are willing to forgive, you know, little bits like that, and they're not as noticeable when really you're just that immersed and that captivated by what's happening on screen. So I don't think there would have been a problem there.
But at the time, you're like, you wanted it to be perfect, you know, and you feel like you've had the rug pulled from under with the COVID thing, and it's like, oh man, I was supposed to have another 4 goes at this, and now it's like we're stuck with this one. But then after watching it, I was like, do you know what? If we would have done it any more times, we may have overdone it, you know. We may have overperformed it, and I think that's, you know, it's really it was meant to be. I think it was meant to be.
Definitely, and as I say, I've seen the movie now, and I can attest to it. It's a wonderful piece of work.
Thank you, mate.
Pretty flawless as far as I'm concerned, even though you're now saying that, you know, you had a little bit of tech issues and whatnot. I was hooked in straight away anyway. You know, I've told you how much I rate Stephen Graham. I absolutely love the guy. I think the fact that you were doing 90-minute one takes with him in these intense situations as well, with this intense story and the way he's got to be. How did I mean, you've worked with him before, but how was your relationship with him to get that performance? Or was it just like, you know what, let's just let him work? Or
absolutely that. I mean, Stephen is he's an absolute whirlwind when he's on set, and you know what, he puts the work in. Like, he really, really goes to town on his characters, and he really works on them. And you know, a lot of our sort of prep and our, you know, prepping the character and stuff like that was done for weeks and weeks beforehand, when we would phone each other near enough every day, and we would talk about character and this and that, and you know, and he had a big helping hand in the script, and you know what, and how we developed it. And then as soon as you get on set, you just got to let him go, because you know, and he's not someone that should be held back, because I think if you don't know him, like I know him, you know, we've been friends for 20 odd years, and you know, especially recently in the last probably 5 years or something, but we've been very close, and you know, I just know his personality, and I think some directors might find that, you know, some directors who like to be in control of everything, and it's their vision and their way, and you've got to tell the actors what to do. That's not how Stephen likes to work. You know, you've just got to let him go. You've got to let him go, and then you know, every so often, if you feel like you want to tweak something, you just give him a little poke here or a little nudge there, and that's all he needs. You know, that's all he needs. And yeah, he almost sort of he just takes control of, and he knows everybody's character inside out. He knows everybody's character, so you know, he's almost like, you've just got to you just got to drop him in, let him go, and then just, you know, for me, it was a completely different ball game, this, because normally you are, you know, you do a scene, and the scene is, you know, you've got several different takes, 7 different angles, and so you can do it over again, and you can give notes and this and that. But me as a director, all my work was done in rehearsals, because as soon as I call action on the day, I'm sat behind a monitor. I had like an earpiece in with a walkie-talkie that I could talk to the floor, but I didn't need to do that. I was directly in contact with Matt, the DOP, and also one of the runners on the floor, so I could talk to say, get that actor out the way or whatever. But I didn't need to do any of that. And so, you know, just watching it happen live was, it was, I can't even explain the feeling. It was just mental.
I want to quickly jump onto your DOP in just a quick second. But first of all, you've just mentioned about sitting there watching it live and whatnot. What scene or what one thing when you watch this movie back, or even when you were watching the movie like fold out, what one thing do you remember sitting there thinking, damn, that was special?
Yeah, I mean, there's several moments, you know, that take that we used, you know, and I think we've got it on film where we, you know, there's moments where we are like, something happens and you just, like, me and James Cummings, who wrote the other writer, we were just behind the monitor, just like going, yes, like, you know, like, and stuff like that. And, you know, it was just, there's moments where we were just, you know, tearing up and things like that. You know, the Vanette, the stuff at the end when Stephen and Vanette, when, you know, when everyone leaves the kitchen and it's just them two in the back kitchen, that moment was just so powerful. And the whole fight thing, you know, where Ray Pantaki gets launched at from Stephen, and just things like that, which just make you just be like, the heart is just racing. But, you know, my heart was racing throughout the whole thing. Even in the quiet moments, it's like, you know, you sort of feel like, is this, you know, is it too quiet? Or you just, there's so many things going on at the same time. And then I wasn't watching it for watching its sake at the time. I'm watching it for, you know, like I said before, like all the technical things, and like when we hit marks, it's like, yes, or when we slightly miss something, like, oh shit, we can do that again in a minute. But I never wanted to stop it. You know what I mean? I didn't want to stop. That's one of the things I said to the actors as well. I was like, look, whatever happens, you know, even if you fall over and smash your nose against the wall, just use it, because it's great drama.
Get the ambulance in earlier.
We've got an ambulance waiting outside. Let's get it in.
Just use it. Go for it. OP must be an absolute machine with this movie. The amount of movement he's doing and everything like that. One of the things you're talking about, the quiet moments, there are a few of them, and some of them are actually like some of my like parts that I appreciate, and some of my favorite bits. Like there's the little bit with Carly and Andy when they're about to send out a dish, and they both kind of get in nice and low to the dish, and they're doing the personally, like on a personal level, I am loving little bits like that. How much of what was on the page and what we see in the final product was completely planned, and little bits like that where the camera sort of like moves in down almost down to the dish with them. How much of that was planned and just kind of off the cuff, kind of just let's get in there?
It was all completely planned because, you know, it wasn't it's simply because you know, there's not just Matt on the camera, there's also the focus puller.
Yeah.
And you know, if Matt goes off on a tangent and does something, and then the focus is not, you know, on the ball, which
Yeah.
you know, by the way, he completely, you know, he was incredible. So we had to meticulously plan it all. It had to be to a T, you know. And one of the other things we said was we never want to repeat the same moves twice.
Yes.
Even though when you think about it, we are going back and forth. We're just going back and forth. Like most of the time, we're in the kitchen, then we're back out to the kitchen, and then we're in the kitchen. Well, yeah, but that's because you don't notice it with the camera.
Yeah.
But with I'm talking about the actors. So Stephen's character comes out, goes to that table twice. You know, we do go outside, but the camera. I said, even when it's like there was certain moments where we're like, okay, we can't, because the actors were, especially when we're in the kitchen with the chefs. You know, there's moments where the camera's behind the counter with them, and there's moments when the camera's in front of the counter with them. So we needed to get that bit right, and that bit what you're talking about with the food, we actually called it the food porn in the script. So it was just like we need a moment of food porn.
By the way, it is.
So it was just a case of like we wanted it to be, yeah, you know, just stop and just let them do their thing. And but that was all planned with, you know, with the, you know, Ray had to bring out the sort of duck breast at the right time. And the one thing that we didn't with that did sort of mess up, which you'd never notice, but when Stephen sort of burned his hand on the pan, the actual pan wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be on the actual flames. But Ray, I think it was Ray, had forgotten to put the pan on there or forgotten to do something. So Stephen obviously improvised it and just touched the pan handle. But on the rehearsals and on the other takes, it needed to look like the pan was on the stove with the fire. But it didn't. But you know, it's like it's just a tiny little thing. But
again, nothing noticeable. So
but not, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know, I look at it with completely different eyes than any audience member, because whenever I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, that bit there, yeah, or you could have done that better, or you know, but like say, you know, nobody's really noticed those little tiny things. I'm a perfectionist, though, you know. So
of course you are, and that's it's your job to be so.
Right. Yeah.
So as we mentioned right up front, the flick made its premiere at London Film Festival, I think it was.
UK, that was a UK premiere.
Yeah, and from what I've seen and from what I've heard, there's been nothing but great things coming out about the movie. So how has the reception to Boiling Point from your point of view been, and what's the feedback from the critics and the audience and the festival goers?
I mean, it's just mind-blowing, really. It's overwhelming, to be honest, because I'm like, you know, the first time we did a cast and crew screening of it, I can't remember what it was now. I think it was like after the second lockdown, when we were allowed to go back to the cinemas. So we did a private screening at the Rio Cinema in Dalston for the cast and crew. So we watched it for the first time on a you know, proper screen with an audience, and you know, the cast and crew loved it. They were, you know, it was an amazing experience to be able to show them it on the big screen. And then that was that for a while, and then the next time we watched it was at the Karlovy Vary Film Festival in Czech Republic, which is where it had its world premiere. Nice. And you know, how I didn't know what to expect, and you sort of go into this cinema, and there's like, I think it was 2,000 people. I mean, it was the biggest cinema I've ever. It was, you know, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Like this huge, like like, so we walked in on stage and introduced the movie, and I'm looking at all these people, and there's a picture of me online, just like having that with me, Bart, and Lords having our picture taken. It's just like, oh my god. So then we sat in and watched the movie, and you know, just listening to people's responses to certain moments, it was just like, oh my god, okay, they get it. That's worked. And then, you know, at the end, when the credits were going up, everyone just literally jumped up out of the seats and gave us a standing ovation for like 5 minutes. I was
That's
like,
incredible.
What is going on? And so the lights came up and everyone they knew that where we were sat, because we obviously walked from the stage to our seats where everyone could see us. And they were all just staring at us and clapping and wolf whistling and all this. And myself and Bart and Lords were like, I was like, what do we do now, Bart? He just said, just smile and wave, just smile and wave. So I'm just there like waving and smiling at these people. And then I said, what do we do now? And he's like, just slowly walk out. And we're just waving as we're walking out. And like, so that was just a like mind-blowing experience. And then we did it again at the Zurich Film Festival. And again, the response there was just incredible. And then, yeah, it was the most nerve-wracking one for me was London Film Festival, because it's home turf, isn't it? Right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's just like, yeah, it was really scary. But again, we had a incredible response. Everyone was just, yeah. And it's always daunting looking at critics' reviews. And, I only discovered Letterboxd recently. And I'm obsessed with it. It's like, people are, everyone's just being really, really lovely. And, what I'm really pleased and proud about is that people are getting the little nuances and the little it's it's something that James and I were really wanted to get across, was like, everybody's talking about the self-harm moment. And that's just, I'm just so grateful that people are getting it and having that reaction to it. The whole thing.
That for me was a funny one, because I don't want to get too deep or anything.
No.
It's something that I'm well aware of and I've experienced and been around. And you're kind of in this manic sort of kitchen, moving around, going around, and then, like I say, when you stop for that split second, I kind of just went,
yeah,
oh, Matt, move away. But of course, you have the perfect den mother, Hannah Walters, just standing there.
I know.
It gives the audience a cuddle. So
yeah.
But
she's just the most incredible actress.
Yeah.
Like she deserves to be doing so much more than what she is. I mean, she is now. She started to do a lot more acting, in her own right. And I think she's going to be just incredibly successful, and rightly so.
Well,
and she's like that in real life, she's just like a mother figure,
awesome.
Yeah, love her to bits.
Well, I am a little bit of a wrestling fan, as you might see from my wrestling belt back there. The girls made me that. And there's a phrase in wrestling. Nice. There's a phrase in wrestling that the crowd like to chant when something good happens. And I'm going to say, Phil, after the last chat that we had, we got a little bit deep in certain aspects and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the response for this movie, and this is your second feature, which is an absolute solid piece of work.
Thanks,
you absolutely deserve it, mate. You absolutely deserve all the plaudits, because this movie,
thank you, mate.
Like I said, I was going through a period of one takes, and I've had a couple this year, but this one just captivates and just immerses you, and just, it's a bit of a, no spoilers or anything, but it's not exactly the happiest of endings, but it is quite a feel-good Christmas movie in certain ways.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because, like, when we did it, we were like, James and I were like, okay, is this, it's quite dark. This is a lot of, because I think some of the humor and some of the laughs that we've been getting have coming from just from the reality of the situation, and people can relate to it, and that's what they find funny, And yeah, you're right. It is because it's, you're out in a restaurant at Christmas, and it's all, it's all that, the heightened sort of Christmas spirit.
It's Mad Friday.
It's Mad Friday. Yeah. Oh my God, is it Mad Friday? Wow. Yeah.
As soon as she said Mad Friday at the start, I was like, oh, we are in for one.
Yeah.
So crazy. I'm gonna start wrapping it out now, Phil. This has been absolutely fantastic. I could talk about this film for days on end with you, and I probably will hit you up on Twitter about the small little bits and stuff.
Yeah,
there is more I'd love to say to you. But this is your second feature, as I say, solid piece of work. Where can people get Boiling Point? When can they get it? How can they get it? And when can they see this? Well, as I will say, your new favorite Christmas movie.
Oh, wow. The new
Die Hard.
Oh God, that's some statement in it. Wow. Yeah. So in the UK, it's going to be. I mean, we just had a meeting yesterday, and it was originally going to be released in cinemas on the 3rd of December, but it's actually now going to be on the 30th of December. Nice. In cinemas across the country.
Also, it's going to the cinema. Nice.
Yeah. It's going
very
to the
nice.
Cinema. Yeah, and it'll be in the cinema for a few weeks, I think, and then it'll be on demand, video on demand. I presume a few weeks after that, I guess. But yeah, cinemas 30th of December is the new release date. So yeah, very exciting.
That's amazing. And before I wrap this up, what's next? What mammoth task are you going to take on next? You're going to do a one-take action movie across London and explosions and whatnot? Like,
I'm going to do a 5-hour one-take. No, I'm joking.
Hey, I'd watch it.
A full day. No. I've got. It's been an amazing few months. If I'm honest, I'm so grateful. I signed with a big agent in Los Angeles, and
nice.
Yeah, I've been signed up to a bunch of things. I mean, I can't really talk about them just yet because they're not announced or anything.
Of course you can't. You're all the same, you lot.
I know. But yeah, there's something that that I'm doing in January, and then another thing straight after that, and then possibly another thing straight after that. But it's going to be a busy 2022. But yeah, it's really exciting. But yeah, I think a couple of them will be announced very soon. But yeah, I've got some stuff coming up. Oh, no, I just did an episode of a BBC one drama called The Responder with Martin Freeman.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that was an amazing experience. Doing my first TV gig. I did the last episode, which is coming out in January, I believe, on BBC One.
Which is always the episode you want to do, either the first or the last.
Yeah, the finale, right? That's what they call it.
Yeah, exactly.
The finale. Wrap it up. Wrap it all up. Yeah. But yeah, that's the next thing that you'll see that I've done, basically. Yeah.
Excellent. Last question. Cool. Personal level, on your personal level, how proud of Boiling Point are you?
It's like the proudest I've ever been about anything, because it is loosely based on my life, really, my experiences. And I think this is something I said when we first screened it at Carlo Vivari for the first time. It was like, someone asked me, how does it feel? I'm like, it feels like my daughter has been practicing at home her dance moves for this big show that she's doing. And now I think she's the best. I think she's amazing. But who knows what other people think. So so I'm so proud and so grateful that everybody's, people are sort of, jumping on board and are liking it, and and seeing it for what it is. Yeah.
This is definitely one that, when I first spoke to you about Villain and everything, we spent a good 5-10 minutes just talking about Boiling Point, and I knew just the way you were talking and the way you talked about the short and the way you were talking about the feature coming up, I knew this was a movie that when it came out, people were going to be blown away. And
thanks,
personally, man. From me to you, not just blowing smoke up your ass because I like you, I think it's a great movie, and I think people are really going to take to it. And it is the little things that get you.
Yeah. We wanted it to be one of those movies that, you could watch a couple of times or maybe 2 or 3 times and spot different things,
Excellent.
So yeah, I'm really proud.